All right. Can you guys hear me? Because it should be starting here in a second. I'm watching YouTube and it hasn't started yet. Hopefully it will. Maybe. I'm kind of nervous. I hope this doesn't like screw up. It's kind of what I'm hoping for. YouTube's being all meh. Kind of, I guess. I don't know. It just says starting. Oh, I think we're live. Okay, I think we're live. Yay! Okay, let me adjust my microphone right here a little bit. Okay, I think we're good for the most part. All right. Awesome. People are just kind of like are commenting and stuff. So, what's going on, guys? What's up? This delay thing is really kind of weird. It's funny because you guys like say stuff and then I see myself talking, but it's like 3 or 4 seconds after I say anything. So let's before we even get to the Q&A. All right, I know you guys are probably going to scream, but I'm watching Lost right now, okay? And I'm on season 3. Like I don't know, how many episodes am I into season 3? Cuz I've got it pulled up on Netflix right now. I am 13 episodes into season 3. I have been binge watching the hell out of this. And I'm also going to post this to my Facebook page so people know. It's like my friends can be like, "Hey, we know that guy." But watching like season 3 of Lost, I don't understand why people say they didn't think season 3 was very good. I thought season 3 was amazing. Like I thought it was an awesome like season. I mean, there's cool stuff happening so far. Let's see. Oh God, Jack. Okay, man, this dude right here, man. All right, so you've got all this stuff popping off. You've got like people freaking out, trying to figure out what's going on with the others and stuff like that. And then you've got like Jack playing football with these guys. Oh man, oh god, the questions are rolling in. Okay, we're gonna skip over. We're not gonna worry about Lost right now. So let's get to the questions. Let's see what you guys have to say. So, do you plan on doing more old comics like the Infinity Gauntlet? I would love to see Armor and or the Armor Wars or Spidey's Clone War videos by you. Okay, if you guys want to see Spider-Man's Clone Wars, go talk to Sal. Sal loves the Clone Wars. Also, go talk to Benny because I think Benny really loves Clone Wars too. Like those are their favorite comics in all of Marvel. All right, here's the deal about the old comics. One of the things you guys are going to learn over time when it comes to Marvel Comics is sometimes the old comics are better. Like, I don't know why, it just is. Like, Infinity Gauntlet was an awesome story, but there really aren't any stories that are out right now that would, like, compare to as good as the Infinity Gauntlet. They just aren't. Maybe because the writing's not there, maybe because people just don't really have, like, the attention span that they used to. I'm not really sure, but whatever it is, the stories now don't really compare to a lot of those old stories. And so I'll probably bounce back and forth. I know that we said we were going to move forward with stuff, but we're going to get into like the House of M. We're going to do that. We're going to do, oh god, we have to do Age of Apocalypse. We have to do Age of Apocalypse. We can't not do Age of Apocalypse. So we'll do that story because that story's so awesome. The biggest problem I'm going to have though before I even get into that is the reading order, because if you get online and you look for reading orders, for every response you find, you're going to find a different reading order suggestion. So it's crazy. But we'll bounce back and forth between old and new comics. People saying that it's working. People saying, let's see. All right, can you guys hear me? People are, oh, don't be like that. Curtis is like, man, forget Lost. Like Lost doesn't suck. Am I going to do World War Hulk? Yes, I'm going to do World War Hulk. World War Hulk is a necessary story, and the reason why is because of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I'm wondering if you guys have spotted this yet, because with the Avengers 2 Age of Ultron trailer, it looks like Tony Stark and the Incredible Hulk are fighting. But I think what this is doing is setting the stage for the Avengers being like, okay, the Incredible Hulk's just too uncontrollable. We gotta let him go. Like, we gotta kick him out of the planet. And so they boot him out. That starts the Planet Hulk storyline, which in turn leads to the World War Hulk storyline. Alright, let's see. Yeah, Lost is awesome. People are like, Lost is awesome. Let's see. Only reason I didn't like was, yeah. Will I do World War Hulk? Yeah, we already answered that. Rob, I was just wondering when you'll do the Thanos Imperative storyline and maybe an Axis story too. Okay, Axis won't get done until the Axis event is finished. That's my rule when it comes to stories. I don't do stories as the stories are going on. I prefer to do them later on. And because like once we actually do like a story, like once we get into the stories when they're finished, we can like analyze them. And there's a train coming by my house. but we can like analyze and we can critique and we can review the story after it's all said and done. That way I can just produce consistent videos as opposed to getting tied up or having something come up that is just unexpected or something like that. But yeah, yeah, we'll definitely do the Thanos imperative. That'll come into the stories that we do later on. The issue with doing the Thanos imperative, or there are some characters that we have to explain. Like we have to do Marvel, since he's like the focal bad guy of the Thanos imperative. We have to do like Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a lot of stuff that we're gonna have to talk about before we actually get into the Thanos imperative story. Plus, we need to do like Peter Quill. Peter Quill's awesome in the Thanos imperative. Let's see. Like comments are coming in so fast, I can't keep track. Let's see. Okay, who is Carol Danvers? Okay, you guys want to know who Carol Danvers is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We've already seen Carol Danvers in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'll tell you what. Somebody post in the chat. Tell me who you think Carol Danvers is by the time this is all said and done. Like somebody tell me who you think Carol Danvers is by the time we get to the end of this. And if you're right, then you'll get like an internet high five. So, let's see. Spider-Verse? I don't know. I'm not a huge Spider-Man fan, so I'm not really sure if I'm going to get into Spider-Verse. Plan on doing any isolated stories? Not even, not just event storylines? I've thought about that, because a lot of the stuff that we've done so far have been like great big crossovers. We haven't focused only on like single events that focus on like like one group of people. Like we never really talked about Decimation. Decimation ran alongside Civil War. Like that was the reason why the X-Men didn't get involved. It was strictly for the most part an X-Men event. And we never did that. So I might do things like Decimation. I might get into like those stories that revolve only around particular groups. I know we talked about lightly. We didn't really get that in depth into it, but we talked about Marvel Knights and Inhumans Volume 2, which is something that you need to read if you want to get into the Inhumans. That's like one of the required readings for the Inhumans for anybody that wants to learn about them. But we didn't really get that in depth into it. It was just part of the big half-hour long video that we did talking about the Inhumans. We might do that because the Inhumans are a really, really cool group. They're a really cool, small, isolated kind of community, and I really like that element of them. Let's see. Sentry. We already did the Sentry. Let's see. Yes, when have we seen Carol Danvers before? Thank you for your videos. I appreciate it. Thank you for thanking me for my videos. I'm glad you guys like them. Let's see. Season 4, Episode 5 of Lost will never leave my brain. Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind. So when am I going to give Howard the Duck his due? I'm never going to give Howard the Duck his due. Howard the Duck sucks. I'm never going to give Howard the Duck his due. I hate his character. He's just dumb. I hate... Oh, the best X-Men story arc? Hands down, the House of M. Like, the House of M is probably the best X-Men story arc of all time. It's not just the X-Men, but it was really cool because of the way things were, like, jumbled up and the way things were done. But for the most part, I don't know, because that was... Okay. Are we talking about like X-Men only story arcs, or are we talking about like story arcs involving like a multitude of characters? Because some really cool story arcs that involve the X-Men, for example, like the Age of Apocalypse was a really, really cool X-Men story, but it wasn't just about the X-Men. But for the most part, it kind of was too, because Apocalypse was an X-Factor villain. Then you had Legion, who was the son of Charles Xavier, went back in time and killed Xavier. So I mean, it's kind of a tough one to answer. Let's see. When you do Ragnarok, are you going to do the character or the actual event the movie will most likely be based off of? See, that's the problem. Ragnarok showed up several times in Marvel Comics. He wasn't just like once, one and done. Like he's like an amalgamation. If I remember correctly, he's an amalgamation of like all the crappy stuff from Thor's life. I mean, he's a representation, but Ragnarok would be a difficult character to do. Like it'd be a tough character. I can't talk. It'd be a tough character for us to focus on because with Ragnarok, we'd have to go back and do like a multitude of like Thor videos. Like we'd have to do, have a huge discussion on Thor, everything from Journey into Mystery all the way up until the first appearance of Ragnarok. We also have to get into like different variations of Thor. We'd have to get into like Beta Ray Bill. We'd have to talk about Loki. We'd have to talk about Odin. We'd have to talk about like all this stuff that went into play. We'd have to basically like explain the entire mythology surrounding like Thor and the Asgardians in the Marvel Universe, which I'm sure you guys would love, but that's an expansive discussion. That would be huge. Okay. Big Hero 6. A lot of people have asked about Big Hero 6. All right, Big Hero 6 was actually like a really short run series of stories. It was initially started in Alpha Flight, I think. But Big Hero 6 was like, I can never remember if it's Sunspot or Sunfire. I think Sunfire was the one from Japan, I think it was. But it was basically like those groups, like or those guys, Silver Samurai, Sunfire, and like a handful of other people. And it was just a really small series of comics. It was never that big, and that's why it makes sense that Marvel is doing, or I guess that Disney is just taking the name and converting it into just like a CGI kids movie, because nobody really cares about Big Hero 6. I mean, I'm sure there are collectors out there that are like, oh my god, Big Hero 6 #1, but I mean, for the most part, nobody really cares about Big Hero 6. Even some of the most avid Marvel fans that you'll find on the Marvel subreddit are just kind of like, I mean, Big Hero 6, whatever. Like, none of us are pissed off that Disney's making a movie about, movie out of it, so whatever. But God, all these comments are just like tearing through. My God, man, this is nuts. No, Carol Danvers is not the process, the process server in Iron Man. No. All right, I'll give you guys a hint. Carol Danvers has so far in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this is going to be a big giveaway. Carol Danvers. Okay, let's actually, I don't even know if it's Carol Danvers. Hold on a second. Let's see. Oh no, it's not Carol Danvers. That's right. I don't think it's Carol Danvers. It's Captain Marvel, and that's right. It's not Carol Danvers. I forgot about that. God, I keep wanting to refer to her as Carol Danvers, and I can't help it. Okay, the star of Captain Marvel is not going to be Carol Danvers. So, those of you guys who are familiar with Captain Marvel and Marvel Comics should know right off the bat. I can't snap. Somebody snap for me in the chat. Like, I can't snap. Those of you guys who watch the movies or who are familiar with the comics should know who the new Captain Marvel is going to be. Who is going to be in the movie. Let's see. Oh, Sal tweeted me out. Yay! No, Sky is not. It's not going to be Sky. You think it would be, but it's not going to be. Let's see. All right. Do I think that they'll bring the Void? Oh, wow. Been watching your channel almost since it began. Thank you. That's awesome. I was just wondering, do you think they'll bring back the Void through the part that was in Cyclops' mind? Okay. To my knowledge, the Void was never part of Cyclops. The Void was part of the Sentry. I don't know if you were asking if they're ever going to bring the Void back or if they're ever going to bring back Robert Reynolds. They might. I don't know. Sky is an 084, object of unknown origin. Sky is an Inhuman, actually. I think that's my theory. Sky is an Inhuman. Can you discuss to us the edited line of Whisper made by Nick Fury and Thor? Oh God, you guys are still talking about this. You guys still want to know what it was that Nick Fury said to Thor. Actually, I'm not current on the Thor, like Thor issue, like the female version of Thor. I'm not current on those comics. So if it's been said, I don't know what it is. Like, I read the first issue and I was like, you know what? Frost giants show up, attack some humans. I don't really care. So I just ended up just not reading the comic anymore. Okay, do you think the decision to send Hulk into space or how to handle the Hulk will factor into Captain America 3 Civil War movie? Okay, man. Yeah, you guys are all about Captain America 3 Civil War. All right, like I said before, here's my speculation with Captain America 3 Civil War. Civil War, or the Captain America 3 movie, is going to lay the foundation for Civil War. What we're going to see are like these early debates, like these early kind of things between Captain America and Iron Man. Much like we saw in Iron Man Volume 1, I think, where I think Iron Man, Captain America, I think, tried to stop Tony Stark from being Iron Man, something along those lines. I can't remember. But, like, Tony Stark attacked him. And it was the first time that we actually saw, like, some major friction between the two characters. And I think that that's what Marvel's doing here. Marvel is introducing us to Captain America 3, to Civil War. And they're going to set the seeds. They're going to lay the seeds for Civil War. And I think that you're going to have this kind of undercurrent that rears its head every once in a while. But it won't be until Phase 4 when Marvel is like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe Phase 4 Civil War, I think is what they're going to be going for. At least I hope so. So, all right, we're going to skip all the way down to the bottom of the chat because I know you guys are, oh my God, you guys are posting up comments. Jesus. All right, which X-Men movie? And I can't keep up. All right. We're going to try to answer these as best we can as they come along. So, a lot of people believe that Sky is an Inhuman. It makes sense. Marvel's wanting to bring the Inhumans in. They haven't really revealed the basis of Sky, like what her heritage is. So, I think they're going to say that. Oh, is it going to be? I don't think it was going to be a Carol Danvers movie. Okay, I thought that it was going to be like Captain Marvel. It was going to be like the Middle Eastern version of Captain Marvel, and it was going to be the chick, Reyna or whatever her name is from Agents of Shield. That would make sense to me, to be honest. But will you explain Infinity War? I may explain Infinity War. I'm not entirely sure yet. Infinity War would be fun, but Infinity War is basically like, hey guys, everybody's trying to get the Infinity Gauntlet for themselves, and you have Adam Warlock, and you have the Goddess, and you have the Magus, and that's them doing Infinity War. I think is going to be Infinity War in name only. What they're going to basically be doing is they're going to have Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, who's going to be like waging war against like all life in the universe. I think is why they're calling it that, because with Infinity War you're talking about having a story, and this is what I don't understand about them doing like Avengers 3 Infinity War. So we haven't really explained Infinity War yet. So you know what, fuck it, we're just gonna go ahead and do it. So the heck with it, we're just gonna do a little Marvel Explained segment in the middle of this live stream. So Infinity War, of course, was the event that took place right after Infinity Gauntlet. You had really kind of two events coinciding at the same time. You had Warlock in the Infinity Watch, and then you had Infinity War. And what had happened was Adam Warlock, who of course, as you guys had seen, had taken the Infinity Gauntlet for himself and had more or less said, like, I'm going to be a just ruler. I'm going to be a fair guy. But what he knew was that the element of him that makes him human, the good and evil, the struggle within himself, was going to cause problems. So what he did is he split himself into two parts. He created the absolute good version of himself, which took on the female form of Goddess, and then he took on the absolute evil version of himself, or I guess created the absolute evil version of himself, which was the recreation of the Magus. And the Magus had like the Universal Church of Truth and stuff, and so on and so forth. But from there, it becomes like this all-out conflict against the Magus. And it was the belief that he had the possession of the reality gem, but he didn't. Thanos had been tricking him the whole time. It was stuff like that. But Infinity War is going to be interesting because, like I said, I think what Marvel's going to do here is Marvel, instead of just doing the Infinity Gauntlet, which is a build-up to all this stuff, Marvel's going to say, okay, Infinity War. Thanos has the Infinity Gauntlet. Done and done. Let's do this. And then they're going to get into the story, and you're going to have like this just massive conflict just right off the bat that's going to take place over the course of two movies. They're just calling it Infinity War because Thanos is going to be, again, waging war against the superheroes and so on and so forth. At least that's my speculation here. That's my idea. And I hope it's true. I hope it's true. Okay, the obelisk from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to end up being the Terrigen Bomb. I think that's true. I think that's the case. For those of you guys that never read Infinity, all right, what Marvel did is they had it. I'm doing my e-cig thing right now, so bear with me here. You guys God, I actually didn't expect 150 people are watching this right now. I didn't expect to see 150 people show up for like a Q&A. That's crazy to me. But for those of you guys that never read Infinity, what you had like a couple stories going on at the same time. You had the Builders who were traversing across the universe, but you also had Thanos who was trying to find his offspring. It was really kind of a silly plot with regard to Thanos, but whatever. At some point along the line, Thanos shows up at Attilan to where Black Bolt and the Inhumans are at, and he confronts Black Bolt. The two of them engage in combat. Black Bolt screams, and when he screams, a Terrigen Bomb blows up. And because the Terrigen Bomb explodes, the Terrigen mists are more or less spread throughout the entire planet Earth. And so every Inhuman that existed, where nobody knew they were Inhumans, has their Inhuman gene activated, and they take on traits of various Inhumans. And I think that's what Marvel's going to do. I think Marvel has this little bitty device, which would be more on the order of like a Terrigen grenade, I think, than like a bomb. But it's going to activate the latent Inhuman genes in Sky, as well as maybe a couple other people. I don't know. Is Angela... will Angela be the new Thor? Not to my knowledge. I think the new Thor is actually Thor's mom. But again, I'm not current on the Thor story. I'm not entirely sure whether that's true or not. Do you know if Marvel could be... has plans to do something like... I can't read. Do you know if Marvel has plans to something like the cinematic universe, but for video games? I have no idea. I have no earthly clue. Like, I wish they had something like where the graphics didn't look terrible like they do with the Marvel Universe Online or whatever it is. Those graphics look absolutely awful. But I wish they had something like World of Warcraft, like looking graphics, or like Elder Scrolls Online looking graphics with like Marvel characters. That would be awesome. That would be so cool. Let's see. Do you have any ideas on how the story involving the universal incursions is going to continue since we haven't gotten an expansion or new information in quite a while? Okay, here's the deal. All right, I was actually talking to Benny and Sal about this earlier, kind of, sort of, not directly, but we were talking about like what Marvel's doing next year with like all these stories. Because if you guys notice, Marvel's like bringing all these stories back. They're bringing like the Age of Apocalypse back. They're bringing back the Infinity Gauntlet, I think, except it's like Peter Quill or maybe who's wielding the gauntlet. I don't know. But they're doing all this stuff with all these old stories. All right. The one thing you guys will notice is that a majority of these old stories had all taken place in alternate universes, or in some capacity had influenced the manipulation of reality, or had beings from other universes show up. In the Secret Wars, you had the Beyonder, some being from an alternate like multiverse, which was like the culmination of his entire multiverse, I think, who showed up to the planet Earth, and or I'm sorry, to the Earth 616 universe, and just wanted to see what was going on with superheroes and supervillains and what it meant to be good or evil. You had Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet warping reality. You had the Scarlet Witch doing everything with the House of M. You saw all these things going on. What I think Marvel is doing is they're going to bring an end to the incursions, because the incursions are basically like all these alternate realities, just like conflicting and like the Illuminati destroying them. So I think what you're going to see is you're going to see this circumstance where you're going to have all these alternate realities meshing together or coming together at some point, and then Marvel's going to be like, well, everything just has to be redone again, and they're going to use all these former stories to wipe everything clean and to restart it all. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I'm really kind of hoping that's what they do. Yes, I love tacos. I am such a fan of tacos. Like, I might even get some tacos after this. Like, I might go out to Taco Bell. I don't know. Let's see. No, I don't want to update my VLC media player. The incursions are leading into Secret Wars. But see, that's the thing. See, the incursions are leading into Secret Wars, yes. But then what are the Secret Wars going to lead into? Like, there's a reason why all this stuff is coming back. Like, if you remember Age of Apocalypse, for example, Marvel brought back Age of Apocalypse for like the 10-year anniversary or something like that. And it was like what happened after all the nuclear bombs blew up. And we learned that Jean Grey had like saved everybody and they were all still alive and stuff like that. So right now, with the way things are progressing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or I'm sorry, in the Marvel comics, like at this moment right now, with the female version of Thor and all that kind of stuff, you still have the Age of Apocalypse universe continuing. That's still a universe that's still expanding and still going on. You have the Ultimate Universe. You have the Days of Future Past universe. You have all these universes that are still continuing on their normal circumstances. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting to see what they're going to do. In the end, we won't know until next summer, but it's fun to speculate. It's so fun to speculate on stuff. Uh, I'd like to see you talk more about the original Guardians of the Galaxy. I was never too interested in the original Guardians of the Galaxy. They never really did anything for me. I mean, but they were long before my time. And when I started reading comics, I just thought they were kind of goofy. So I was like, I don't know. But let's see. Uh, can I explain Doctor Doom? Why do people want Doctor Doom so much? People have been asking for Doctor Doom forever. Let's see. Mm, All right, Adam Warlock's already been introduced on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, albeit with his cocoon, which in turn was cracked open later on. But he's more Marvel has more or less said like this is going to be the case. Like Adam Warlock is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Whether or not he's the son of or the father of Peter Quill has yet to be seen. I think it would be silly if Marvel came along and they were like, Adam Warlock's the father of Peter Quill, and he's just kind of been hiding in stasis all this time. That seems kind of silly to me. Let's see. Can you invite us to your wedding via video Skype? Probably not. That's probably not going to happen. I mean, I'm probably not going to live stream. If I ever get married, I'm not going to live stream it on Skype. That'd be kind of weird. Uh, Street level heroes: Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist. I was actually thinking about that yesterday. I was sitting here and I was watching Lost, and I was watching Lost on my MacBook, and I was playing Skyrim. It was like the greatest day, and I was sitting here thinking, like, man, like I talk too much about like the Avengers and like major crossovers. Like I need to get back to like some homegrown stuff. So we need to do Daredevil. We need to do like Iron Fist and Luke Cage and stuff like that. Like we need to get back into those things because especially like the character videos. Because I'm actually working on Iron Man right now, and the character videos are fun. There's so much. I think they're more interesting than like a lot of the stories because you guys learn so much. Like I can tell you guys so much. Like why was Iron Man first made and who took over Iron Man with Volume One and so on and so forth. You know, it's a really cool kind of thing. Um, What kind of tank am I using? I am currently using a. I'm actually not using a tank, although I have a tank. Well, I had it somewhere. I don't know where I put it, but I have an Aspire Nautilus Mini. I also have a Russian 91%. I have a Pro Tank, and right now I'm using a RDA. I'm using the damn. What am I thinking? The Nimbus atomizer. So. Mm, but oh, do I think that Adam Warlock will be in Infinity Wars? Definitely. Adam Warlock. Marvel's gone too far with Adam Warlock. They've basically introduced the character. They said like he's free of his stasis. It's too late for them to like roll that back and to say, well, he's just never going to be there. Like forget about it. He's just never going to show up anymore. Like from this point forward, like we're going to see Adam Warlock show up at some point. Now, whether or not he will be like a huge character or whether or not he'll just be kind of relegated is a difference, because what you guys saw with Infinity Gauntlet is he was like the main focal point, like everything revolved around him. So if they're going to do like an Infinity Gauntlet style story, Adam Warlock is a necessity. I really can't think of anybody else who could fill the shoes of Adam Warlock as well as he did. I mean, I don't know. um, how do I believe that Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier, is going to fit in Captain America 3? I think he'll have a cameo, because what Marvel's doing is they're going to have the Falcon take over the role of Captain America. So there really isn't a need for Bucky Barnes now. I think that at the time, I don't think Marvel had actually intended for the Falcon to take over the role of Captain America when Captain America 2 came out. I think they were talking about it. I think they were considering it. They thought it would be kind of a cool idea. And then all of a sudden, people are just like, wow, the reception to the Falcon is awesome. And so Marvel took this idea that they had been tinkering with and said, what would people say if we made the Falcon the new Captain America? And it seemed to be really, really popular. People seemed to run with it. So, let's see. Kingpin is the truth. Thoughts on Thunderbolts? All right, Thunderbolts are interesting, but Thunderbolts are like an interchangeable group. It's one of the things I love about Marvel Comics is for the most part, a lot of teams stay relatively the same. Like with the Avengers, the group has expanded over the years, but for the most part, you still have like the same main members. Like, I mean, you don't really have like, I guess you kind of have Hank Pym who changed out here and there, but you had Iron Man that maybe left and then he came back. Like there was a point where he left and he started a group called Force Works, I think, and that didn't work out, so he went back to the Avengers again. But in the end, like for the most part, it's the same core members. The lineup just kind of changes from time to time. The only difference was, of course, you had like new Avengers, that came out. But from there, you have like the X-Men, and the roster, of course, has changed over time. With the Thunderbolts, it basically seems like a team of villains that no one cares about. Like Marvel's like, okay, like we brought in Red Hulk, Thunderbolt Ross, and we thought it was going to be awesome, but no one really cares, so let's just throw them on the Thunderbolts. Like, that seems to be the case with that group. Like, the most interesting story that I ever read that involved the Thunderbolts was Civil War, and that was it. Like, I never had read, nor have I read anything about the Thunderbolts since then. I really didn't care. Do a Marvel Explain on Cosmo? You want me to do a video on a telepathic dog? Are you serious? I guess I could. I mean, not. I need to throw up Twitter too. Now that you say that, like, let's jump on and see what the tweets are saying. I don't know if anybody's tweeting anything to me, but let's see what the tweet. Oh wow, 17 tweets. Okay. Do I watch or have watched the Ultimate Spider-Man? What is your opinion of? I actually never read or never watched the Ultimate Spider-Man. Um, oh, if I can direct any Marvel movie, which one would I direct and why? Oh my God, what a good question! Like what a question! That question comes from Fidel Garcia. I hope I didn't mess up your name. That is a good question. God, if I could direct any Marvel movie, what would it be? I would direct. Oof, I would direct the Inhumans, and I would make it almost in line with the Inhumans story, with the Inhumans Volume 2 story. Because for me, that was the single coolest story. For those of you guys that never read Inhumans Volume 2, and you want me to kind of ruin it for you, basically what you had is you had a circumstance where Black Bolt himself like sparked a conflict between humanity and the Inhumans, and then at the end of the story revealed that he was the one that started it, and it was all just a ruse for the Inhumans to leave the planet Earth, or leave Attilan, and to go somewhere else. That was basically it. But it was a really cool story the way it all unfolded, because he was just kind of sacrificing things, and sacrificing the view of his people in relation to him in order to make them safer. Um, how do I think the Age of Ultron movie will play out? Oh, God. You guys are asking such awesome questions. Man. All right, so here's what I think. about Age of Ultron. All right. Age of Ultron is going to be a really, really cool story. The way that Marvel's doing it, they're calling it the Age of Ultron, which to me is them saying, like, this is the era of Ultron. This is the point in which Ultron first appears and will continue to reappear in Marvel Comics and basically, like, wreak havoc and cause problems for the Avengers. I see them taking his character, taking his villain, and using him as a way to maintain Avengers films, or maybe not necessarily Avengers films, but like films where a couple characters might come together or something like that, because Ultron might create something and then send it out to fight, whoever it is that they're going against. But um, I would say that with the Avengers film, with Age of Ultron Avengers, or I'm sorry, Avengers Age of Ultron, what you're going to see is, of course, you're going to see like this beginning story where they're talking about the events of Loki, speculating, so on and so forth. Obviously, we're going to see Ultron, but I think that we're going to get this kind of like montage sort of experience where we're going to have like Tony Stark trying to find a way to have his own life and counterbalancing that with the fact that he wants to be with Pepper Potts, but he wants to keep her safe, but the world also needs to be saved and Iron Man has to exist and so on. And so he's going to make like and like you create, I guess, devise artificial intelligence in a way to where he can have like an artificially powered Iron Man suit, to where you basically have AI controlling Iron Man, and he doesn't have to like be in the suit or actually do anything. Because if you guys remember, with Captain America, I'm sorry, with Iron Man 3, all the shrapnel and everything's been removed from his heart. There's no need for him to wear that device in his chest anymore. And so he doesn't actually need to be Iron Man. And so what's going to happen is, of course, over time, this AI is going to glitch and it's going to end up screwing things up and it's going to become Ultron. And then I think what we're going to actually see is Ultron take on his form, like the form we saw in the previews, about halfway through. And then from that point, he's going to recruit Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, which we saw. They're going to turncoat against him, I think, once they realize what's going on. And then you're going to have like this, of course, Grand Poobah conflict between the Avengers and and Ultron. And then Ultron is going to seemingly be defeated, but I think there's going to be some scene at the end of the movie or something like that where there's like a computer blip or something to tell us that Ultron is still alive. I don't know. The question that I would say needs to be asked is, what is the ending credit scene going to be in Avengers Age of Ultron? I personally think it's going to be about Adam Warlock, but I don't know. Will I explain Toad? I'm not going to explain Toad. Oh man. What are my views on the war between Marvel and Fox over the X-Men rights? Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if anybody's kicking themselves in the backside for selling the rights or for doing what happened in Marvel, it's Marvel. Like Marvel, I guarantee, is so upset about now their circumstance being better than what it was, having sold off the rights to the X-Men. But here's the kicker: if Marvel hadn't done that, let's say, for example, that Marvel had kept the rights to the X-Men and sold off the rights to the Avengers, would the X-Men still be popular? Because here's the issue that you have. With Avengers, you can do a multitude of stories. You can have them fighting all kinds of forces from all over the cosmos. But with the X-Men, you really can't. The X-Men basically had like 3 or 4 main enemies. The first one was Friends of Humanity. All right, that was a group led by Graydon Creed, I think. The second one was Apocalypse, especially with X-Factor and so on. The third was Magneto, and the fourth could be considered Mr. Sinister, maybe. They only had like a handful of like any real serious villains that were a constant threat in the stories. You could consider Juggernaut, I guess, or maybe Sabretooth, but those were characters that were enemies of individual characters, like Xavier or Wolverine, but weren't necessarily the enemies of like the X-Men as a whole. It just ended up the X-Men had to fight them in order to keep those individuals, those individual villains, Juggernaut and Sabretooth, from like going after the people they were ultimately pursuing. Um, but again, with the Avengers, like they could take on any force because the Avengers are Earth's mightiest heroes. They're a team that's put together for the purpose of fending off the Earth from any kind of threat. It doesn't matter what it is. And so with the X-Men, I think the X-Men would have been successful initially, but then Marvel wouldn't have known where to go. Marvel would have said, "Well, I mean, I don't know." But the cool thing is, Marvel could have been developing the X-Men and the Avengers at the same time, and then had this grand poobah, X-Men and Avengers, or X-Men versus Avengers film that would have made like $50 billion this opening weekend or something stupid like that. Like, it would have been really cool. Um, Do I think Ultron will invent his son alongside Vision in Age of Ultron? I don't know. Because in truth, when you talk about Ultron's son, like you're mostly talking about like characters from the Runaways. And Marvel's really not going to doesn't really care about the Runaways. I don't think anybody really cares about the Runaways. And so for me, like I know that in Age of Ultron, like there was a single issue, like a single comic that was like a prequel, I think, or maybe like right after Ultron had conquered the world, but before we had gotten into like the main Age of Ultron story, and it was like Age of Ultron: The Runaways, and it was about Ultron's son like trying to help people after Ultron's forces had taken over the world. I personally don't care about his kid. I never cared about the Runaways. Never really cared about those stories, and so I never really read them. But I don't know. I'd be curious to see what Marvel does with that. Uh, oh my God, so many comments rolling into this. Jesus, like it's almost impossible to keep track. Will Wolverine die in Age of Apocalypse, or will they wait and do a third Wolverine film and possibly attempt the death of Wolverine's storyline? Well, they've already said they're going to do like an unnamed third Wolverine film. Like, there's going to be Wolverine, the Wolverine 2, I think, and then like the Wolverine 3. I don't think there's been a Wolverine 2, but there's going to be like a third unnamed Wolverine film. So Wolverine's probably not going to die in the Age of Apocalypse. He's probably going to come back, or he's going to somehow make it out at the end, and then they'll probably do the death of Wolverine. But I don't know why they would, because I'm going to tell you right now, as long as they can keep Hugh Jackman on making Wolverine movies, people are going to go see him. So I don't know. I don't see any reason why they would kill him off. Let's see. Uh, Ever plan on doing the Secret Invasion? God, let me tell you something. Like after doing Civil War, I'm not going to do Secret Invasion for a while, and the reason why is because those of you guys who read Secret Invasion know that story was like a year long. It was huge. It was a massive crossover event, but it would be fun to do. I probably will do it at some point, but I just want to make sure that like I'm okay, like not gonna go nuts making that series of videos. So uh, yeah, if Fox was smart, they would do like a real Dark Phoenix saga. But here's a problem that you're gonna have. Fox, I don't even know why I have my headphones in right now. Like I'm not listening to anything. I have my headphones in for no reason. um, I don't see any reason why Fox would do like a Dark Phoenix saga. They might. I mean, it was a cool thing to read, but what Fox is doing right now is Fox is one, keeping their focus on Wolverine, and two, they're basically trying to keep from falling behind Marvel. Like that's really all Fox is trying to do. And so I don't see them doing like a Dark Phoenix saga because if they say, "Oh my god, the Dark Phoenix, Wolverine's got a killer." Well, we've seen that once before and everybody hated it. Everybody thought it was stupid. So I doubt we're going to actually see that again. But Onslaught does require the Avengers. Yes, he does. Uh, do I think Planet Hulk has any chance to come over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Well, I mean, Marvel owns the rights to Hulk, so and, in terms of like the films and every capacity. So I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do Planet Hulk. And this would be actually be a really I don't know a really cool idea. The way that Marvel could do it, and this would actually be a really cool concept, is Marvel could launch actually do a World War Hulk film. But instead of actually doing a full Planet Hulk film, Marvel could simply just do World War Hulk and then like refer back to Planet Hulk in flashbacks. That would more or less tell us like how it is that the Incredible Hulk showed up to Earth just so pissed off and just wanting to kill all the superheroes, like force them to engage in combat with one another and fight each other to the death. I don't know. Do I think Beta Ray Bill will be in Ragnarok? I hope so. I really, really hope so. Even if it's just like at the end of the movie, Marvel's just like, hey, here's a tip. Here's like a 30-second clip, or even if they talk about maybe talk about Beta Ray Bill. But I really hope that like at the end of Thor: The Dark World, we get like a 30-second clip where we see like Odin having another hammer forged and like Sif will walk up and be like, "What's that hammer for, Odin?" And he'll be like, "I'm calling it Stormbreaker." Like that would be so awesome. Like I would really love to see something like that. Uh, oh my God, so many questions. These things are like spilling into this stuff. It's absolutely nuts. I'm like the questions are coming in so fast. Like I'm having a hard time reading. What's a good story arc for Phase 4? Like I said, Civil War. And for those of you guys that are just joining us, we had talked about Civil War earlier. And what I think Marvel is doing again with the idea of Captain America Civil War is Marvel's introducing the element of Civil War. And so what Marvel's going to do, I think, is they're going to say, okay, here's the beginning. Like, here's Captain America and Iron Man who were just kind of against one another. There's a rift that's forming between them. We know the rift has been forming for a while. We saw that in Avengers. Like, we know that like Tony Stark just doesn't really care for Captain America on like a personal level. And so I think this rift is going to expand even more. And I think that Captain America is going to come to Tony Stark after the events of Captain America 3, and he's going to say, like, all these things were designed by you. Like, you know, I think it's going to turn out that Tony Stark was developing all these arms and armament for Hydra, not knowing it was Hydra and thinking it was S.H.I.E.L.D. And so Captain America is going to say something along the lines of, you got to undo this, you can't side with the government, whatever. And Tony Stark's going to say yes. And that's going to, like, set the stage for Civil War. In the meantime, we're going to have, like, Thanos show up with the Infinity Gauntlet. And people are going to be like, oh my god, we got to fend this threat off. We'll worry about all that stuff later. And so you're going to have, like, the Infinity War going on. And then the Infinity War is going to come to an end, and then it's going to initiate Phase 4. And Marvel's going to say, okay, fine, back to Civil War again. And then all of Phase 4 is going to be Civil War. The only way I wouldn't see that working out is if Marvel wanted to put more focus on Doctor Strange. Because if you guys remember, during Civil War, Doctor Strange wasn't in it. He was in the Antarctic fasting for like 60 days and 60 nights or something like that. I don't remember. But he was not part of Civil War. It was just Marvel's way of taking an uber character out of the equation so that fans wouldn't ask, why doesn't Doctor Strange just end the Civil War? I don't know. But um, let's see. Who do I think is going to be in Infinity War? Well, we're definitely going to see Nebula. Like, Marvel put a lot of emphasis on Nebula in Guardians of the Galaxy. They could have easily just written her off and just said, well, she's the daughter of Thanos. We would have seen her in the beginning alongside Gamora, and then that would have been it. Like, we never would have seen her again. But Marvel gave her a lot of screen time, and Marvel gave her a lot of focus. And so I think what Marvel's going to do is they're going to make her the same kind of character that she was in the Infinity Gauntlet, and they're going to have her be the one that seizes the gauntlet from Thanos and so on and so forth. I don't know if we'll actually see Taraxia. I don't really see a reason for Marvel to have Thanos make Taraxia. We haven't seen Mistress Death, so I don't know if we're going to see Mistress Death in the Infinity War storyline. I think for the most part, who we've seen so far is, or who Marvel's talked about, is who we're going to see. I mean, Marvel hasn't announced any films pertaining to any other characters, so I think that Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch, maybe Ultron, Black Panther, you know, these guys, these are characters that we're going to see with the Infinity War, either sometime at the beginning or after all the characters appear midway through both parts, and then actually at the end of the second half of the movies. I don't know. Let's see. What's your opinion on Channing Tatum being Gambit? Okay, first of all, my opinion is that Tatum, I can't pronounce his name. Channing Tatum cannot do anything wrong. If you guys haven't seen 22 Jump Street, that movie is amazing. That movie's so funny. Channing Tatum is going to be a great Gambit, I think. Gambit is a combination of funny, arrogant, and like, you know, stealthy and guile. So I think that, like, Channing Tatum can pull that off perfect. Are there characters that I think that Channing Tatum would have been better suited for? Yes. But with the direction that Marvel, or I guess the Fox is taking with their characters, they're making the movies darker. And so we're going to see like a darker version of Gambit, I think. We're probably going to see Gambit, in truth, we're going to see a more externals, Age of Apocalypse Gambit style character than we are going to see, or maybe even like the Morlock Massacre style version of Gambit than we'll see with, like, you know, the normal Earth 616, you know, hey, I'm kind of arrogant but still kind of funny version of Gambit. Although the Morlock Massacre was part of Earth 616 now that I think about it. Yeah, Mephisto wasn't in there. You could easily do Infinity Gauntlet without Mephisto. He really wasn't a necessity. He was just one of the people that jumped in and tried to take the gauntlet from Thanos. But you don't really need Mephisto for Infinity Gauntlet. Why do Okay, nobody hated, like, there weren't very many people that hated Civil War. Like, a vast majority of the comic book community loved Civil War. They thought Civil War was probably the best story to come out of Marvel after the year 2000. Like, it's widely considered to be that way. The Civil War is one of the best stories they've ever made because it reflected a lot of the political tensions that were going on in the United States at the time, freedom versus security and so on and so forth, and, you know, all that good stuff. But oh my God, so many comments, so many comments. Uh, What villains do you think we might see beyond Phase 3? Where do you go after Thanos? Is Kang possible? Or is he owned by Fox? To my knowledge, Kang the Conqueror is not owned by Fox, but he might be. Because Apocalypse is owned by Fox, and he was an X-Men character. Kang the Conqueror, I'd be kind of curious to see, because Kang the Conqueror has gone against both forces. He's gone against the Avengers, he's gone against the X-Men, but in the current run of the comics, like with Age of Ultron, at least when we saw it, he was running with the Apocalypse twins, and so it might be that Fox owns the right to Kang the Conqueror. I don't really know where you go after Thanos, but there's all kinds of villains. You've got Annihilus, you've got the Annihilation Wave, you've got the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, you've got a lot of things that you can do. You've got the villains of the Inhumans, which in truth are just like humanity as a whole. But you've got Maximus the Mad. You've got a lot of different options that you can do in terms of these stories. Do I think that Marvel blew their load too early with Infinity War? Yeah. Marvel should have waited with Infinity War, but I think that Marvel said it's better to throw all of our best eggs in this basket right now and just run with it, and just see what happens, as opposed to like waiting it out and then nobody cares when Infinity War finally comes around. So, High Evolutionary is a really good choice. I mean, High Evolutionary would be a great villain for the superheroes to go against. I mean, you're talking about a person that can create life, that can physically manipulate genetics in such a fashion that he can make life, and plus they can turn around and use a High Evolutionary and tie into Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, into the Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. So Dormammu or Mordo. Mordo is probably going to be the first villain of Doctor Strange. I don't see any reason why they would jump directly into Dormammu. Like, Mordo was the first bad guy he ever encountered, and Marvel usually sticks with that concept. There were a couple exceptions, like with Iron Man. Iron Man's first enemy wasn't actually like a person so much as like a group of people. Like, Iron Man was anti-communist when he first showed up. They chose Obadiah Stane because he was a big part of the Demon in a Bottle storyline with Iron Man, where Iron Man was an alcoholic, and he was basically like ran out of his business by Obadiah Stane, who was a competitor, and then basically like had his entire business shut down. So with like Captain America, it wasn't the Red Skull. It was Nazis. It was Hitler. Like, those are the first villains. I mean, those Marvel is interesting with the way that they do it, but with Doctor Strange, it was a clear and concise. Mordo was the very first villain he ever fought, and so I don't see any reason why it would be Dormammu. Now, it would be cool if it came around to Dormammu, some interdimensional being that can manipulate, like everything, and is like the worst villain ever. I mean, he'd be like a really cool guy. Not worse, like, isn't a terrible villain, but like one of the most dangerous villains ever in the history of Marvel Comics. He would be a great foe for Doctor Strange to go against, but I don't know. Um, Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. Well, one, Doctor Strange is from New York, and he was born in Philadelphia, so I don't know how I feel about a British guy playing Doctor Strange, but Benedict Cumberbatch knows what he's doing, and he's a very, very skilled actor. There are some other people that I think would play a better Doctor Strange. Hugh Laurie would be a great Doctor Strange. Aidan Gillen would be a great Doctor Strange, but again, he's European, I think, or like British. I'm not really sure. I don't mean to offend anybody in Britain. I don't know how to like classify you guys as like British or European or something. Um, Ethan Hawke would have been an awesome Doctor Strange. I don't know why they passed up on him, but there's a lot of other characters that they could use here and there. Uh, Modoc. I guess, man, but I think a lot of comic book fans, or I'm sorry, a lot of non-comic book fans and casual moviegoers would think it was goofy if there was a guy literally floating around on a chair that was like shooting lasers out of his eyes. I mean, I think that'd be kind of silly. um, yes, Mordo was, but well, not directly. He wanted to usurp the throne of the Ancient One, and that was the initial encounter. It's Doctor Strange. Um, what is it? Journey? No, that's not right. Strange Tales. God, I don't remember what it is, but it's the first time Doctor Strange shows up that you learn about that you see what's going on. They give you just a quick backstory of it. X-Men or Avengers? Who's better? Oh, X-Men, hands down. X-Men are much better than the Avengers. X-Men are better than the Avengers because they're more dynamic, like people, but also because like mutants are more powerful. I mean, I don't know. Oh, cast Adam Warlock for you guys? Oh my god. Hugh Laurie is British, but he made House, so that gives him an immediate pass. Um, Cast Adam Warlock for you guys. Ooh, man, who would play a good Adam Warlock? Hmm. Well, kind of like he's kind of devoid of any real emotion, but where he keeps his emotions suppressed. He has good leadership skills. I mean, who in Hollywood would like, you know what? The heck with it. Make it Kevin Spacey. That guy can't do anything wrong, and he's doing House of Cards. Kevin Spacey could play Adam Warlock. Could be just fine. uh, Silver Surfer Requiem review. I may do that at some point in time, but Silver Surfer's a character that's just kind of like, he's all right to me. But I do not want Spider-Man in the Avengers. The Avengers are overhyped enough, and Spider-Man has been treated as a joke in the comics when he was on the team. He's not better than the rest of the team. Not at all. Like, Spider-Man sucks. Like, he can climb walls, and he has strength. You know, even Captain America can beat him, though. And he can shoot webbing out of his hands. Like, he sucks. He can't really do anything. Keanu Reeves as Adam Warlock would not be bad. Okay, why does everybody want to see Nathan Fillion and everything? People are like, oh my god, somebody's got to play like this character who's super obscure and he only ever showed up once and no one really knows what he's supposed to look like, but let's just cast Nathan Fillion. Why? Well, because that's reason enough. I don't get why people love Nathan Fillion so much. And here's a question for you guys in the chat. All right, I want you guys to explain to me this question. Why do you guys love Deadpool so much? Like, why do you guys love Deadpool? I don't understand. I don't really like Deadpool that much. Like, Deadpool drives me nuts, and his comics are goofy. But why do you guys love Deadpool? If you love him, tell me why. If you hate him, just be like, I don't know, like, Deadpool sucks. Oh, man. Cast a new Spider-Man. All right, you guys are going to hate me for this, but we're going to cast Spider-Man as Miles Morales, and we're going to have Will Smith's son play him. I think he'd be a great Miles Morales. I know a lot of people are just kind of like, no, I don't know. I mean, it's Will Smith's son. He sucks. But, he wasn't bad in, like, The Karate Kid. He wasn't terrible at all. So I would say he'd be a great Miles Morales. Sawyer from Lost. I don't know if Sawyer from Lost would make a good Adam Warlock, but he wouldn't be too bad. Matthew McConaughey as Adam Warlock would be a good one. Like, he'd be pretty decent. Hey, Rob, big fan. When Brand New Day happened in Spider-Man, did that create a new universe for the new world which Mephisto created, or is Spider-Man in a separate world now? I don't know. I actually didn't read Brand New Day. I have no idea. Do you think we might see Mad Jim Jaspers in the Fantastic Four movies with Franklin Richards? I don't see any reason why we would. I mean, I don't know why we would see Mad Jim Jaspers, but if we do, I don't care what he's in. I'll go see it. Like, I want to see a crazy British Parliament guy using powers to manipulate reality. Like, I'm always down with that. Eddie Murphy. Eddie, Mur- Eddie Murphy is everybody in the new Spider-Man. I would go see that. Heck yeah, that'd be awesome. Jaden Smith for Miles. See, people are already hating. People are already like, what? No way. Deadpool is funny. See, yeah, the fourth wall. See, everybody says that. Everybody's like, he breaks the fourth wall. And I'm like, that's not reason enough. Not enough reason for me to like his character. Well, I talk about Moon Knight. Yes. Mark Spector. Morgan Freeman as Spider-Man confirmed. I would so go see a movie with Morgan Freeman as Spider-Man. He could just narrate himself. He could just be like, I got up one morning and I used my webbing to pull the blankets over my head because it was sunny outside, but I didn't want to get up. Like, I'd be so down for that. That would be awesome. Luke Evans is Adam Warlock. All right, see, now you guys are just getting ridiculous, man. Like, Will Smith is Adam Warlock. Now you guys are just throwing up random stuff. You guys are cracking me up. Nicolas Cage is Deadpool. My God, man. All right, let's scroll and get some more questions out of here. How was he a relevant character? Yeah. Do I ever think Cloak and Dagger? Well, now like 50 questions just popped in at once. All right, let's go. Do you think Cloak and Dagger will ever show up, or even Mephisto? Cloak and Dagger might show up. I would like to see them too. I think Cloak and Dagger are a highly underrated combo in Marvel Comics. They have some really cool stories together, but like their struggle and trying to figure things out and trying to get along, stuff like that, I think is a really kind of cool thing. I'd like to see them show up, but I don't know whether they will or not. I hope so. I really do hope they do. Let's see. What I saw one. What do you think will make a bigger box office? Make a bigger box office? Captain America: Civil War or Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice? Oh, Captain America: Civil War, definitely, because I think that's the reason why Marvel did this, is because you're talking about the one of the biggest story arcs and most successful story arcs ever written in Marvel Comics, combined with a third Captain America movie that the Russo brothers are coming back to direct. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure the Russos are coming back for it. Like, yes, that's Captain America 3 is going to blow DC out of the water. I guarantee it. People keep asking about Moon Knight. Wesley Snipes is Adam Warlock. All right, Larry Bonson. Larry Bonson's killing me. Wesley Snipes is Moon Knight. Or is Adam Warlock? Keanu Reeves is Adam Warlock. I don't know if what Dinklage is Anna Maria. I don't know if Keanu Reeves would play a good Adam Warlock. He could. I could see it if it was written right. But the problem with Keanu Reeves is the script has to be right. The writing has to be right in order for him to play the character, because he just doesn't seem to be able to like adapt to unique roles, to really like roles that require like a unique perspective on the character. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen it yet, but the new God, what was that? Like, I just saw it the other day, the new Keanu Reeves movie. Um, he was pretty good in that, although he was basically like a guy that was killing people because they killed his dog. Like, he was a cool character, but when you look at Keanu Reeves, he's usually always playing the same kind of character, the Matrix. God, what am I thinking of? The not I don't think it was 13 Samurai, but a lot of his characters are the same for the most part. Like, he's toned down, monotoned, seems completely disconnected from what's going on. So I don't know, maybe it will make a good Adam Warlock. uh, should they reboot the Punisher? Oh, definitely. Marvel already is. Like, Marvel's already told us the Punisher is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, they've already told us that. Um, Thoughts on Black Panther movie and plot? I think the Black Panther movie is going to be pretty straightforward. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see Ulysses Claw show up after having killed Black Panther's dad. I think that's what we're going to see in the opening. Is like in the opening credits or in the very beginning, like the first 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, is going to be Ulysses Claw killing Black Panther's dad in an attempt to gain access to the vibranium stores, and then T'Challa's going to grow up, and then he's going to swear like a vengeance against Ulysses Claw, and so on and so forth. 47 Ronin, that's what it is. All right. Michael Jai White as Blade. My personal opinion, Michael Jai White should have played Black Panther, but I'm not complaining about Chadwick Boseman. He's not that bad. John Wick, yeah, that's what it is. Um, how will Age of Ultron be without Ant-Man? Well, I mean, again, Marvel's not using the Age of Ultron story from the comics as the actual movie itself. The only reason why we did the whole review thing on the Age of Ultron is because you guys really wanted to see it, and I thought it was important that you guys know what the differences are between the actual comic book story and what you'll see in the movie. I mean, there's no reason with the way they're doing it. There's really no reason for us to see Hank Pym. I don't see any reason why we would, but X-Men in space. It would be awesome to see the Starjammers in the Marvel Cinematic. Or I'm sorry, in the Fox films. I would love to see the Starjammers. I also want to see like Fabian Cortez. Like, he was a really really cool character. Like, I want to see a lot of those guys. Um, do you think we will see a She-Hulk movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the next 10 years? All right, here's the deal. I think us seeing a She-Hulk movie is contingent on how Captain Marvel does. If Captain Marvel tanks in the movie in the theaters, like, they're not going to make a She-Hulk movie. I don't see any reason why they would, because with Captain Marvel, she's going to be a relatively unique character compared to the characters we've seen so far in Marvel or in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But if they make She-Hulk after Captain Marvel tanked, people are just going to say, well, Marvel's just trying to make a female superhero film to capitalize on the popularity of the Incredible Hulk, and people are just going to kind of write it off that way. So I think it depends on how it does, on how Captain Marvel does. Um, Strongest Marvel character. All right, if we're talking about like physically the strongest Marvel character, and the Incredible Hulk, or well, no, the Incredible Hulk pretty much goes to him. Well, no, probably Apocalypse, or maybe even Thanos. I don't know. It's kind of tough. But Jackie Chan as Iron Fist. He's way too old to play Iron Fist. No way. Jet Li, maybe when he was younger, could have played Iron Fist, but not now because he's kind of getting older too. So, yes, I'm still planning on getting a dog. And actually, Cameron had some questions that he wanted me to answer, which let's look at those. Look at the questions that Cameron had. No, Cameron asked me if I got a dog, and I still hadn't gotten it. He asked me if I was ever going to bring back Marvel Request Monday, which I am. Like, we'll bring back Marvel Request Monday because I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired of doing like storylines. Like, I want to get back into character discussions. So we're going to get back into Marvel Request Mondays. Which here's the question that I'm asking for you guys. I meant to ask you guys this, and while we're doing a live stream, we might as well do it here. Um, what character you guys want me to talk about next? Let me know in the comments. Um, Since Rob won't answer your question, I will. I didn't see his question. Oh, what kind of music do you listen to? Have you ever seen Back to the Future? It's my favorite movie trilogy. Please answer. Sorry, I'm asking a lot, but I really want an answer. Sorry. Mr. Tyler 7707 asked that question. I listen to different kinds of music. I used to be like really big into EDM, but now like I'm losing interest in it. I'm just not really too particular about it. I love like jazzy R&B. So like Common, Most Def. Actually, one guy that you guys need to check out here on YouTube is a guy called One Tone. That guy makes some awesome music. You guys need to check him out. But I like that jazzy hip hop, funk kind of sound, which is something that I really enjoy. Oh wow, the questions are rolling in, or the statements rolling in. Ben Parker, Taskmaster, Black Bolt, Morbius, Mr. Sinister, Spider-Man. Let's go back to Twitter, see what people are asking on Twitter, because I feel like I've been leaving people out on Twitter. Your thoughts on Spider-Man, and do you think Sony and Disney will work something out? I don't know. Sony doesn't want to let it go with Spider-Man because they're basically riding the coattails of Marvel. So as long as the Marvel Cinematic Universe is doing well, Sony's probably going to keep making Spider-Man films, hoping that their movie's just good enough that it draws people in. But I don't think it will. I mean, that's the problem with Sony and with Fox. Like when you're shooting for just good enough, like you never get the best. You just get just good enough. So, what is my dream Marvel movie? Oh wow. Hmm. I don't know. I had to think about that for a minute. Uh, I guess that's how you pronounce my name. And after Thanos Infinity War, who can you see being the next big bad guy? Mm-hmm. Do you think Sky from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. could be Crystal from the Inhumans? I've thought about that. Sky being Crystal from the Inhumans. I don't know. That was actually Anthony Fullen that asked that question. I don't know. It'd be a great way to segue into the Inhumans, but I don't think so. I think she's actually going to be an Inhuman proper. Um, just make this channel about how awesome Hulk is. How's there going to be Civil War without Spider-Man? I mean, why do you need Spider-Man for Civil War? I mean, Spider-Man was basically like, I don't know which side I want to pick, and he revealed his identity. That was it. Like, that was all Spider-Man was known for in Civil War. Infersator's giving me the numbers from from Lost. All right, let's go back and look through these names. Somebody said Goku. Somebody said all of them. Chase Williams wants me to explain all, like everybody. Um, let's see. Uh, what type of mod do I have? I have a IPv2. Uses an SX350 chip, so it's a 50-watt chip. Um, let's see. Blade, Blue Marvel, Mr. Sinister, the Beyonder and Molecule Man. I mean, the Beyonder showed up because of Molecule Man. Luke Cage, Galactus, Annihilus, Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel, Thor. I was thinking about doing Thor, but the problem with Thor is it would be such a long and complicated discussion. Oh man, Omega Red, Squirrel Girl. You know what? Andrew Wilson's got it. The next one's going to be about Squirrel Girl. I don't see any reason not to. We'll do Iron Man and then we'll do Squirrel Girl because Squirrel Girl is a girl that runs around and scratches people with her sharp claws. Like I don't see any reason not to do Squirrel Girl. Oh man. Since Marvel introduced Thor and the idea of gods, do you think we will see Hercules in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? That's a really good question, and I don't know, because I think that, I mean, we've got Greek gods. Whether they even go as far as to introduce, like, the Sky Fathers is something that we don't know. I feel like if Marvel came along and they introduced Hercules, people would say it's an attempt to introduce a character that's like Thor. They're basically trying to do a spin-off on Thor. I don't know, but I don't really see a reason even. Well, I mean, Hercules, I think, was able to lift the hammer of Thor. So you had Captain America who was able to lift it. You have Hercules, I think, who was able to wield the hammer. So I don't know. I'd be kind of curious. Um, let's see. Did Nova Corps? Yeah, Nova Corps, not Corpse. I know. I've seen all your comments where you guys are just like, it's Core, not Corpse, Rob. Um, do I think? Well, now I'm. What was it? Do you think Richard Rider Nova movie in Phase Four? Jared Leto for Adam Warlock. Jared Leto could be a decent Adam Warlock, but in my mind, he's always going to be the drug addict from Requiem for a Dream. Um, I don't know. I think Marvel specifically said they're not going to do a Richard Rider movie. In truth, Richard Rider's like a cult following kind of character. People love him, but it's like a small number of the Marvel community that think he's a really cool guy. But for the most part, Nova is just kind of like meh. I don't know if we'll see Richard Rider. Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. I have no earthly clue. I hope we do. I think it'd be kind of cool if we did. Namor, Namor the Submariner. People are asking about him. Quiltman. I don't know. Is that even a character? Oh man. Let's see. They are casting Hercules for Agents of Shield. Really? Huh. Bullseye or Taskmaster? Could Galactus be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? No. Marvel does not own the rights to Galactus. Those rights are owned by Fox. So, unless Marvel and Fox work something out, Galactus will not be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Uh, Robbie made a great preview for Silver Surfer. I need my life story. Somebody using the Norn Rad Norn Rad name. Hold on, I'm gonna get a screen capture of this. Like that's awesome. Oh, I didn't do it right. There we go. I think I got it right. Hold on a second. Let's see. Yes, okay, I got it right. I got it right. That's gonna be on Twitter here in the next like few hours. Because that's awesome. Um, oh my God, so many of these. Starjammers, Alex Summers. All right, John Baldwin. I'll see you later, man. Once a yeah. Let's see. House of M storyline next. So you guys really want me to do House of M? I guess you got like a lot of you guys have been saying House of M. Alex Summers. So the idea here seems to be a toss up between like Alex Summers and Squirrel Girl because one person said Squirrel Girl and that's reason enough for me. So, um, any Marvel characters that could be played by Adrian Brody. Oh, Doctor Strange would have been a great Adrian Brody character. I mean, Adam Warlock could be a great Adrian Brody character. Um, I don't know. I mean, it'd be kind of interesting to see what Marvel chooses to do. Adrian Brody seems like he'd be more of like a character or like a voice actor for a character that Marvel would make more so than an actual like Marvel character in physical form. But I don't know. Which storyline would top Infinity Wars on Phase 4 and Phase 5? Well, we already talked about Phase 4 and Civil War, but Phase 5, I don't even know if Marvel's doing Phase 5. Like, I mean, we're thinking way ahead. We're thinking further along than they are, so I don't, I don't know. But you got the Scarlet Witch. I mean, hell, man, do House of M. I don't see any reason not to. That'd be pretty awesome. Which Phase 3 film are you most excited for? Oh, definitely The Inhumans. I'm excited for The Inhumans for the same reason I was excited for the Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy was like a niche group of characters. It was just way out in left field. And I was surprised that Marvel did it. And it's turned out to be just like this critical and massive success. With the Inhumans, it's them doing that, except with Earthbound characters that nobody knew existed all this time. And so I'm really excited to see like what'll happen here, like whether or not they can successfully say, "Hey guys, here's this group of heroes or group of like Inhumans, basically this group, like this society that's existed like out in the middle of nowhere, and no one's ever known about them. Like no one had any idea they existed." I'm curious to see if they'll be successful in being able to do that. I'm not really sure, but I hope so. Like I hope they can do it. Um, all right, let's see. Phase 4, I believe, will involve the Hulk as a villain. Most likely, it'll probably be like a great big huge World War Hulk event. I'm not really sure, and that'd be cool if Marvel did that. If Marvel took like a movie about each character, like Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and basically like made them movies that revolved around the Incredible Hulk or the World War Hulk event. Like that would be really cool. Yeah, Alpha Flight is an X-Men property. What is your favorite movie of 2014 so far? Wow. I actually haven't seen a whole lot of movies this year. Guardians of the Galaxy is definitely right up there at the top of my list, or near the top of my list. Um, I mean, aside from that, I actually haven't seen a lot of films. What I do know is that 2015 is going to be the year for films. I mean, my God, everything that's coming out next year It's going to be totally nuts. Please do a video on Black Bolt. I mean, I thought we kind of covered Black Bolt with the Inhumans. I mean, it'd be difficult to do a movie or to do a video about Black Bolt and not talk about the Inhumans. Like, they kind of go hand in hand. So, uh, do I know who owns the rights to the scrolls? Fox, I think, owns the rights to the scroll. No, maybe we do. I don't know. Sal's the one to ask about that. Sal knows more about. Sal, if you're in the chat, like, tell people who owns the rights to the scrolls, because I'm not sure who it is. Uh, Aurora. She's basically the superhero version of Sansa Stark. Who is your absolute favorite comic book character of all time in the comics, not the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Oh wow, absolute favorite Marvel comic book character ever, like ever that's ever existed or will exist, or I guess has existed. Let's see. There's some great characters out there. That's such a broad question. It's like I could answer that any time, just thinking off the top of my head. But um, probably Apocalypse. Like I love his character. I love his villain. Like he's a guy that's just basically exists for world domination. That's all he wants to do is take over the world and make sure that only the strongest survive. Like I like his characters, or like his villainry, his evilness. Yeah, Super Skrull is a Fantastic Four villain. Would I consider a video for Gladiator? Now you're talking about Gladiator of like the Shi'ar Empire, right? Because if you are, um, I mean, sure, it'd be kind of cool to do a video about him. I mean, his character's not that in depth. I mean, his powers are tied to his confidence. As long as he's confident, he's powerful. If he loses his confidence, he's weak, basically. I mean, I'm not really sure. You know, I may do one at some point, but I mean, I'd have to do some reading about Gladiator, definitely. But I want to get away from like, I want to get away from the idea of like doing mostly Avengers characters. Like I want to get back into more X-Men characters and do like minor villains like Rhino and stuff like that from Marvel Comics. Let's see. Should they kill Hawkeye? Because what else is he good for? Well, no, they shouldn't kill Hawkeye. Hawkeye is a great character. Do you think we will see cosmic entities in Infinity Wars? I hope so, but I don't think we will. Because Marvel would have to basically like expand and explain the realm of cosmic entities over the course of a single movie, which they might do in Doctor Strange. I don't know. I mean, Doctor Strange may be their way of segueing into all that kind of stuff. You know, I don't know. Let's see. People are hating on Super Scroll. So would I do an explanation of Fear itself or Siege? We'll get into those as time progresses and we get into more and more current stories. With Age of Ultron, we really kind of jumped the gun. Like with Original Sin, Age of Ultron, we just like jumped straight from Civil War into those. But I want to get current and I want to talk about Age of Ultron because the movie's coming out. We'll backpedal and we'll do like the Secret Invasion and we'll do Fear itself and we'll do like Dark Reign and we'll do the Siege, you know, and stuff like that. Or we'll get into those stories. But uh, how will Civil War be without as many characters? Oh my god, big characters such as Spider-Man or Goliath or Cyborg Thor. I don't know. I mean, again, I think that Civil War is not necessarily going to play out the exact same way it did in the comics because it's just too expansive for them to do in any one movie or even over a course of 5 or 6 movies. There's just too much going on. I'm actually kind of curious myself to see what'll happen. Do a video on X-Man Nate Gray. We will do a video on Nate Gray. When we do Age of Apocalypse, we're going to talk about Nate Gray because he comes back. Like after Age of Apocalypse, he crosses over into the mainstream Earth 616 universe. So, Rob, I'm only 13, but can I get in a podcast with you one day? Send me an email send me an email. Send me a message on YouTube and I'll send you my email address. That's Chase Williams. Where do you think they will go with the Bucky and the MCU because they are going Civil War and the next Captain America? Again, I'm not really sure. Initially, I thought that they were just going to kill off Captain America and have Bucky Barnes take his place. But now I think they're changing their minds because of the whole popularity with Falcon. So I'm really not sure. Um, do you think it's possible to have Onslaught or Bastion as the main villain in a live-action X-Men movie? Well, see, here's a problem that you're going to have with a character like Bastion. Onslaught's pretty easy because you've already got Xavier and you've already got Magneto. With Bastion, it's going to be tougher because you have to have Nimrod, which means they would have to explain, and they can't do it now. They would have to have explained the timeline that I think Bishop came from, because I think Nimrod came from Bishop's timeline. Although I wouldn't swear to that. He was a super advanced Sentinel, but Damn, Nimrod. My mind was like, it locked up. Nimrod eventually becomes Bastion, so you'd have to do a lot of backpedaling and a lot of explaining. You can't just invent Bastion out of thin air. They have to start from somewhere, and I don't know if they'll do that. Rob, how long do you think Wolverine will stay dead, and what's your opinion on the significance of his death? Wolverine's not going to stay dead for long, and the significance of his death is that there is no significance. Like, it's happened a multitude of times, and it's like Battlestar Galactica. All this has happened before, and all of it will happen again. Like, that's kind of the thing with this kind of stuff in Marvel Comics. I don't see Wolverine going away. Old Man Logan is a story that we need to explain. Doctor Doom, yet again, somebody's saying Doctor Doom. Do an explanation on Rob Jefferson. Rob Jefferson explained. Oh man, you guys are killing me. Kang the Conqueror. See, the problem with Kang the Conqueror, though, is that he's just not that interesting. Like, he time travels, he does some stuff, but he's got no powers of his own. He just has technology. So, I don't know. Uh, I'm not answering any questions about my dad in the chat. Brood in the next X-Men movie. I don't know if we'll see the Brood. Um, we might. I mean, we've got Storm, so we could see the Brood. I don't know. Honestly, the Brood wouldn't be reason enough for me to go see an X-Men movie. If they said, X-Men 5 starring the Brood, and then I would just be like, okay, whatever, and I probably wouldn't go see it. But what do you think about Marvel's choice to use villains without much an origin and without much depth other than Loki? All right, I don't necessarily think that's the case. With Thanos, they'll probably explain his backstory as his character is introduced to us more and more. I mean, we already know that he has daughters, Gamora and Nebula. We know that he has the intention of taking it. Like, we're learning the basis of Thanos as the movies progress. You just got to kind of look beyond what you're immediately seeing in the movies. But give me an example of a villain that you're talking about with their things. Um, Agent Coulson aside, will we have a permadeath in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Yes, we'll see the permanent deaths of characters when their contracts run out. So, uh, thoughts on the Fantastic Four? Who will be the villain? I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be Doctor Doom. That's the problem with Fox and Sony. Like, here's what Fox does. All right, here is a boardroom meeting with Fox. Fox, like, somebody walks in and they say, "Hey guys, I have an idea. Let's reboot the Fantastic Four." And the executives say, "Awesome. Like, who should we have for the villain?" They say Doctor Doom. And they're like, "Well, we've already done Doctor Doom. Like, we had him in like two Fantastic Four movies. Shouldn't we have somebody else?" And they say no. And it's like, "Well, why shouldn't we have Doctor Doom? Like, why shouldn't we have somebody else?" And they say, "Because people already know who Doctor Doom is, and we don't have to spend a whole lot of money and a lot of time explaining who he is. We can just do it all in one movie." Like, that's the problem with Fox. They suck at making superhero films. It's time that Fox sits down and they say, "All right, look, guys, we don't know how to make good comic book films. And so because we don't know how to make good films and our movies suck, we should just like stop doing it." But they're not going to. So, let's see. Do you know any actors that could play Apocalypse in the X-Men Apocalypse movie? The Rock, like, no. All joking aside, Apocalypse would probably be like a voice act character, a character that would voice him. In terms of who would voice him, I could think of several people. If we're talking about a young Apocalypse, I mean, you're talking about the guy that plays Saeed from Lost. If we're talking about an older Apocalypse, then somebody with a thick, accent, a thick Middle Eastern accent. So I don't know, maybe the guy that played Saddam Hussein in the House of Saddam, which I don't know if you guys saw that, but it was an old series on HBO, came on some years ago. But what do I think Fury said in Original Sin? I think Nick Fury said that he doesn't want us to know what he said in Original Sin. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I mean, that's the question. Like, there's so many different circumstances, and in truth, we could probably figure it out, but we'd have to go back through and reread everything about Thor from Journey into Mystery all up until the current point, or up until the point when that happened, and even then, we still might not know. It might be something that took place in the background that we were just never aware of. I don't know. I have no earthly clue. Do I think Doctor Doom will use magic in the Fantastic Four movie? I feel like Fox doesn't want to touch the whole magic side of Doctor Doom. I doubt it. Again, yeah, I think you're right here. I think Fox is going to stay safe. I think Fox is going to say, well, let's just keep it general. I mean, this is the company that said that they didn't want to use Galactus because he was a 2,000 foot tall guy who was purple. You've got a guy that can shoot fire that's like made of fire. You've got a woman that can be invisible. You got a giant rock man, and you've got a man that can stretch like any part of his body to any length and at any size. Like, I know what you guys are thinking now, but um, okay, Borica, Boricua boss said he's getting out of here. I'll catch you later. But it was a boneheaded decision by Fox to bail out like that, to say, well, we don't want Galactus because he just looks too weird. I mean, it was kind of silly. Iron Sheik to play Apocalypse. I would be down for seeing the Iron Sheik play the role of Apocalypse, as long as he was wearing his turban that he used to wear in the ring. Ronan was a terrible villain. So was Ivan Vanko. Ronan was not a terrible villain. He was just written terribly. Uh, Ragnarok is the Asgardian version of Revelations, aka the end of everything. Yeah, that's why I say like he's an amalgamation of different things. Fin Fang Foom was victim of toxic waste disposed in a sewer along with a rat. Do I watch DC programs like Flash and Arrow? I watch them just enough to keep up with Benny and Sal when they're talking about it on the podcast, but for the most part, like I just watch the show. I don't actually get into any of the stories or the comics or anything. Um, do I think War Machine could be the one to die in Avengers 2? It would work well because he's Stark's best friend and would be killed by Tony's own creation. Thoughts? I don't know. I mean, War Machine is not really important enough to where they could kill him off. I mean, I guess because he's so unimportant, they could kill him off. But I would think that with Avengers 2 Age of Ultron, if they're going to kill off a superhero, it's going to have to be like a significant death. I personally think we're going to see Thor die, but or Thor disappear or leave or something like. I'm sorry, not Thor. Um, Captain America. I think we're going to see Captain America go the way of the dodo. So I don't know. Yeah, Fox just does need to give up the rights. Do you think Adrian Brody could play a good Mr. Fantastic in a live action Fantastic Four movie? Not really, because I think he's too young. Yeah, I mean, like Reed Richards is kind of an older guy. Morgan Freeman is Apocalypse. I don't know about Morgan Freeman as Apocalypse. Um, what's your favorite comic series that you're reading? Ooh, um, right now it's like the whole Incursions event, or I'm sorry, yeah, the whole Incursions event with New Avengers. Like that, that's a pretty cool. That was a pretty good story. At least I think I have that. I'm pretty sure that I do. Why don't you do intros for your videos anymore? Okay, a lot of people have been asking that. A lot of you guys have been posting comments asking about the intros and stuff like that. The intros are going to be there. It's just that what I've decided is that with these big crossovers, a lot of people watch them as a playlist. And so a lot of people were like, I love these videos, but like I don't need to see the intro every single time I start a new video. And they're right, because if there's like like with Civil War, it was 22 videos. And with each video, there was an intro. So I figure with Age of Ultron, what I do is with video number one, there would be the intro. And then as you were watching the playlist, you would just immediately pick up right where you left off, rather than having to wait through, a 30-second intro or anything like that. So, because I love my intro and I'm not getting rid of it anytime soon. That intro is freaking amazing. Um, Steven Seagal as Iron Fist. Yeah, if he wasn't all old and fat, definitely. uh, Michael Korvac for the next Guardians of the Galaxy. What are your favorite What If comics? Oh God, my favorite is What If Uncle Ben hadn't died. That was a cool one. What role do you think Loki will play, and how did he replace his dad? Ooh, that's a good one. Loki's really good with magic and sorcery. My thoughts are that Odin is imprisoned. Like Odin is somehow imprisoned or sleeping the sleep of the gods or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know. Whatever the case is, I think that Loki is going to use this as a means to allow Asgard to be dominated, to be taken over by an external force. Maybe to allow Thanos to show up and to take what it is that they have stored there. Like, because remember, the Gauntlet is like the Infinity Gauntlet was there in Thor 1, but again, like all the little things are being stored, like all the little objects, the gems, or what passes for the gems, so like the ether and stuff like that, those are all being stored, not to mention any kind of untold stuff that may be on Asgard. So I see Loki allowing Thanos to actually enter Asgard and take whatever it is that he needs to take. Good read for the Inhumans Volume 2, definitely. Where do you see your channel a year from now? Um, that's Kronos. Pay him no mind. He loves asking questions like that. Which that's actually a pretty good question. It's a serious question. A year from now, I see myself here talking with you fine people about comic books, breaking 100,000 subscribers maybe, and I don't know, just having fun, meeting up at comic cons and stuff like that. Do you want a Century movie? Yes, but I only want a Century movie that's going to be the Marvel Knights Century. It's going to be a standalone movie that's not going to be tied into anything else, and that needs to be like a Coen Brothers movie. Like that needs to be That's what I would pick. Somebody asked me if I could direct any movie, what would it be? I would direct a movie about the Century, most definitely, and it would be like a slow, methodical Coen Brothers kind of film. All right, so back to Twitter. Fidel Garcia asked again. He said, "Can you see Cable in the next X-Men movie?" Yes, but most likely what Marvel will do is they will use the ultimate version of Cable, which is Wolverine. So that's what I see them doing. What is your dream Marvel movie? Yeah, like I just said, the Century with like No Country for Old Men style pacing. Yes, I know it's slow, but it would be a beautiful film if it was done right. So let's see what else people have going on here. Morgan Freeman for Apocalypse. Do you care much for DC? I'm actually not a big DC fan. I don't really read DC comics that much. Were you privy? We're only privy to the Marvel film universe. Thoughts on the number of characters introduced in the Netflix series? Um, I think the Netflix series are going to be fantastic, and the reason why is because we're going to be able to see things that we just wouldn't be able to see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're going to be able to go, well, I guess in the movies, they're going to be able to go a lot more in depth with like Daredevil, and because it's Netflix and because it's a service that you're paying for, they can pretty much do anything they want to on those shows. I would say that with Daredevil, we're going to see a really dark and a really sadistic and gritty kind of story. Not necessarily in terms of Daredevil, but in terms of like the actions of Kingpin, things like that. I'm pretty excited to see what rolls out with these whole Netflix series. I'm hoping they don't make it like PG rated episodes. That's what I'm really hoping they don't do. Where do you get the music for the end of your videos? By the way, your videos are awesome. A lot of the music comes from, again, One Tone. I don't know if you guys ever check out One Tone. We just do a YouTube search, One Tone, and he's got some really cool music on there. Let's see. Do I think a live Dragon Ball Z movie will ever come? They did have one, and it was absolutely awful. So, yeah, I don't know. Do you think the Century was crap when he was retconned and introduced in the new Avengers series? Yes. Okay, for those of you guys that don't know, what Marvel did is you had Marvel Knights. Marvel Knights were standalone series, like the Inhumans Volume 2, the volume that I keep like ranting about, the one that I keep talking about being the one that you need to read. That was Marvel Knights. The Marvel Knights series were a series of publications or a series of stories that were confined to only what it was that they were talking about, and they didn't directly tie into the rest of the Earth 616 universe, the rest of the Marvel continuity. The Sentry was a good example of that. That's why Marvel was able to say, well, here's a guy, Robert Reynolds, who remembers being the Sentry, nobody else remembers it, so on and so forth. Things continue to unfold that way. But what happened is shortly after that, Joe Quesada, I think, had decided to roll the Marvel Knights up into the main Earth 616 universe and to the continuity of all the other comics. And when he did that, the Sentry was brought back. And that's when a lot of people looked at the Sentry and said, this guy is basically a ripoff of Superman, and this guy sucks. I think that he had a couple good stories. The Void was pretty interesting, but for the most part, the Sentry just wasn't very fun to read about. Like, he just wasn't a very cool character. It just wasn't really something that I was too interested in after the whole Marvel Knights imprint came to an end. Will we ever see time travel in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? I hope not. I really hope that we're not going to see time travel, and the reason why is just because of the fact that time travel has a way of screwing stuff up. Like, we've already seen that. Marvel tried to fix that with Age of Ultron. That's why Tony Stark was telling Wolverine, they don't just time travel all the time because you can break time if you do. And of course, time broke, and Galactus was sent to the Ultimate Universe. Angela showed up in the main Earth 616 universe, and so on. But I feel like that's a Pandora's box Marvel doesn't want to open, because if Marvel uses time travel, let's say, for example, that the Age of Ultron story gets really, really dark, and let's say that it goes almost in line with the comic books, not necessarily in terms of the events, but in terms of what like the actions the characters take, and we basically pick up with the entire world in shambles. And we learn over the course of this that Ultron had taken over everything. And then, like, in the last half an hour, they're like, well, let's just travel through time and fix it. It's an easy scapegoat. It's an easy way out. And it's something that could potentially destroy the story. And so I'm hoping that's not something that Marvel does. That they never get into that. Thoughts on fedoras? Fedoras are for hipsters, and a friend of mine, Ryan, loves his fedora because he is a hipster in every sense of the word. In every sense of the word, he is a hipster. One of the smartest guys I know, but he's a hipster nonetheless. And so, yes, fedoras are for hipsters. Nathan Lane as the new Captain America. I would be so down for that. For those of you guys who don't know, Nathan Lane is an amazing actor. He was in like The Birdcage and he was in Mousetrap. He was hilarious. I assume he was because I assume he's still alive. But of course, you know he's a just he is a character that shows up, and every time I see him on screen, he makes me laugh. So anyway, um, do I think that Daredevil and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are part of the same universe? Do I think they're part of the same universe? Uh, I hope so. Because do you guys know how awesome it would be if we saw like a crossover between the Ninja Turtles and Daredevil? Like that would be so beast. Like I would be so down for that. All right, I'm only going to spend a couple more minutes on here because it's been like an hour and a half. So I'm only going to answer a couple more questions and I'm gonna bounce off here. But um, let's see. All right, let's scroll through here and see if we can find some really good, like a couple really good questions. Uh, let's see. Will there be another entry in your Age of Ultron segment? Because 8 didn't seem to have closure to the story. No, the conclusion of Age of Ultron will be up on Monday. That'll be the end of it. It'll be titled Age of Ultron Conclusion, and that tells us what all like how it all pretty much ends. Do I think we will ever see the Shi'ar Empire? I don't think so. I wish we would. I wish we could, but I don't think we will. It'd be awesome if we did, but I don't think we'll ever see the Shi'ar because Fox is not very good at expanding their universe. I mean, hell, they can't even do very well with the characters they do have. I mean, how could they hope to do well with the characters they haven't written anything about yet? So, uh, let's see. Deadpool X-Men Origins with Days of Future Past. Does that mean that Deadpool doesn't exist now? Yes. Okay. A lot of people were confused by this. A lot of people aren't sure how all this is set up, how everything's done. All right. What happened with Days of Future Past? It was basically Bryan Singer coming back and saying that X-Men 2 and 3 were garbage. Like, those movies sucked. And so, I'm sorry, X-Men 3 and X-Men Wolverine's, Origins Wolverine sucked. And so what he did is he came back and just retconned all that stuff. And just said, nope, this is all going to be done all over again. This is all going to be rebooted again. And so, for the most part, everything, if I remember correctly, after X-Men 2 has not actually happened yet. And so it basically gives them a clean slate to go back and do whatever it is that they want to do. Um, let's see. When do you think you can run out of content? I hope I don't. I mean, there's so much to talk about. I mean, there's characters that we haven't even began to get into yet. I mean, like the X-Men characters, we haven't even started about yet. Like we haven't even talked about like the Hellfire Club. We haven't talked about Sebastian Shaw. We haven't talked about Emma Frost. We haven't talked about, well, we talked about Jason Wingard. That was my very first video. But there's a multitude of groups and characters and things like that that we haven't even began to touch on yet. That we haven't even touched on in passing and the conversations that we've had. So, let's see. Who do you think will play or should play Black Bolt? The role seems very difficult to play well and make it good. Well, Black Bolt's going to be a tough fit. Black Bolt's going to have to be played by a character that's never going to talk. He's not going to talk at all. And Medusa will be the one that talks for him. So this character is going to have to be able to communicate what it is that he wants through basically just like body language. And the question is, what's a good actor that can do that? A good solid actor that can play a dark character but also has really good body language. Gary Oldman, I guess. I'm not really sure, but he's just too old of a guy, so I don't know. But anyway, guys, all right. So it's like it's 9:30, around 9:30 where I'm at, and yeah, I've got Daredevil, or I'm sorry, I've got The Walking Dead DVRing right now, so I need to bounce off here. But yeah, so So I love you guys. I mean, you guys are fantastic. This was awesome. Like, we need to do this more often. We definitely need to do this again sometime because this was just fun. Like, just answering questions for an hour and a half. Like, this was just really, really cool. We'll do this again when I get around to 100,000 subscribers, if I ever get to that point, which fingers crossed, I hope I do. And yeah, so I'll catch you guys later. Peace.